Hi, I'm Chris from PQ Gamez. The Martial Way is a head-to-head deck building game where all you need is a deck and an opponent. So grab a deck and let's learn how to play. So at the start of the game, you and your opponent choose who is the offensive player and who is the defensive player. The person who's the offensive player goes first. So the goal of the game is to get your opponent to 0 or below hit points. So to start off the game, each player draws 7 cards to start. 6, 7. Okay, so with the exception of your starting hand, the offensive player draws 3 cards, while the defensive player draws 2 cards. You want to have no more than 7 cards in your hand before the next card is played. If you do have more than 7 cards in your hand before the next card is played, you exhaust down to 7 cards. So the 7 cards that are in your hand represent the focus of the fighter and whatever potential moves that they can do. This deck here represents the stamina of the fighter, and then this exhaust pile is for any card that's been played, discarded, or exhausted. These tokens here represent your hit points, and then these tokens are adrenaline points that are used as currency for certain tactics. Okay, so as the offensive player, I'm gonna play an attack card. If the opponent can't defend against this attack, they will receive damage by the amount listed in the attack field on the card. In this case, that's an attack of 2. So if an opponent can defend, and in this case we're ignoring the special ability, we would take the attack number represented by the red number here, minus the defense number represented by the blue number here, and the outcome would be the damage that the opponent takes. So in this case, an attack of 2 minus the defense of 1, this opponent would take 1 damage. So you can also play an attack card as a defense card, but keep in mind that if you do, the defense on the attack cards are much lower than if you were playing a defense card. In this case, it's not that big of a difference. So you have an attack of 2 minus a defense of 1, so the opponent would receive a damage of 1. So if an opponent plays a defense card and the defense number is greater than or equal to the attack number of the attacking card, then it's said to be a successful defense. So now we're going to talk about combos. So first I'm going to play this straight punch card, and then regardless if the opponent defends or not, I can follow up with another card, so long, in this case an uppercut, so long as the link value of the card is greater than or equal to the combo point value of the first card I played. After that, I would receive 1 adrenaline point for that combo. And so if my opponent, whether my opponent defends or not, even against this attack, this combo, I can follow up again with another link card where it's again greater than or equal to the combo point value of the previous card. So then in this case, I can follow up with a bolo punch, and then again I would receive 1 adrenaline point. Now all of this assumes that the person did not successfully defend against either of these previous combos. As long as that's the case, then I can continue my combos for as long as I have cards available. Okay, now let's see all of these different scenarios in action. So I'm gonna start by playing a straight punch card against my opponent. My opponent's gonna defend with the crouching punch card that has a defense of 1. So in this scenario, my attack of 3 minus their defense of 1, they would take damage of 2. But still my turn, so I'll follow up with an uppercut. You'll notice that the link value and the combo point value are equal, again, greater than or equal to means I can do a combo. So in that scenario, I'll get one additional adrenaline point and do this attack on my opponent. My opponent will defend with Jutsao and receive damage equal to 5 minus their defense of 3 or a damage of 2 in this case. Again, still my turn, so I'll follow that up with a jab, and then again, looking at the link value, we'll see that the link value is greater than or equal to the combo point value. So again, I get an adrenaline point. I'm trying to do an attack of 2, but in this scenario, they play a defense card that has a defense of 3, so it's considered a successful defense. So that completely ends this combo chain. But it's still my turn, and so I can play an overhand punch in this case. My opponent doesn't have a defense card, so they would take damage of 4 in this scenario. Okay, now we're going to talk about counterattacks. So first I'm going to play this straight punch, and then my opponent is going to first do what we call a successful defense. So again, this is the attack of 3 against the defense of 3, so 0 damage in this case. Again, if it's 0 or greater than, then we end up with a successful defense. So with that successful defense, my opponent can now actually do a counterattack and take over the attack round. As part of that, they get an adrenaline token just for doing that counter. So in this scenario, where that person is now, my opponent is now the offensive player, I'm now the defensive player. So now I'm gonna defend against this attack of 3 with my defense of 2. So I'm gonna still take a 1 damage in this case. Now again, since my opponent now has taken over the attack round, they can continue their combo. Again, this is a link value that's greater than or equal to the combo point value. So they get an adrenaline token, and they get to continue their attack phase, which now in this case gives me a damage of 3. Okay, so there are some moves like the tactic cards that require adrenaline to be able to use them. There's also moves that you can play where you have the option to be able to use the adrenaline token to activate the special ability within that card. Okay, so before any move is played, the offensive player can refocus. And what that means is they can end their turn and discard any number of cards and draw up to 7. Okay, so at any time, a player can spend 2 adrenaline points and draw another card. You can have more than 7 cards in your hand in this scenario up until your next draw phase. This tactic is known as the rush. So when a player can no longer draw any new cards when they're required to, they're said to be exhausted. So when that happens, we take our exhaust pile, we reshuffle, and then we draw a fresh set of 7 cards. But we're not able to use our cards for offense or defense in this turn. So thank you for watching this quick demo on the martial way. So be sure to look out for our upcoming decks based on your favorite martial art. Follow us on social media and check out our website at pq-games.com.